bloodshed on the streets of Ukraine on the deadliest day yet of anti-government protests.
In response to Russia's actions in Ukraine earlier this year,
Cameron is expected to support President Obama's warning to Russia.
We have to be ready to deal with that kind of aggression and make sure that Russia knows that if it crosses the line, if you like, we're ready to respond.
we're now continuously rotating additional personnel and aircraft through the Baltics.
This is probably the most challenging one. I've never been in this kind of cold weather environment.
Being fatigued and cold and tired and hungry, it takes its toll.
One of the reasons why we're in Eastern Europe is to support our partners and deter Russian aggression. We're here doing the same thing.
I am sure that unless we're robust and unless we show resolve, that this could become dangerous.
The Royal Marines are the only cold weather and mountain specialists in the UK military.
It's obviously a fairly brittle environment, temperatures down to -19.
The US Marine Corps are terribly gung-ho. See the pictures of them all running along, shouting and ho, 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 and all this sort of thing.
Somewhat concerned that their focus has been typically special forces type units, and bringing a straight leg infantry battalion certainly creates a challenge for them.
I'm 23 years old. I've been in the Marines for 3 years. People have their motives to join the Marines. They want to serve their country, they're patriotic, they want to get to travel around the world. I did it purely because my brother's in the Marine Corps, and watching him graduate boot camp was honestly the sole reason why I joined the Marine Corps.
I was working 2 jobs actually. I was working in a fast food restaurant and in a factory. I was working in the restaurant part-time, factory full-time, and it was just getting really stressful and tiring, so I wanted to try something new and something I figured would really help me financially.
The reason you're here today is to do a safety drill. This safety drill is proven, has been used hundreds of times in this environment over the years.
I was married. The reason I joined was because of my wife, and just somewhere along the line it ended, so. And now I'm just out here doing this and having a good time with it.
Icebreaking then basically entails a man on skis with his pack entering the ice. It's important because moving around frozen terrain, we don't always know the consistency of the ice.
God damn!
I am Corporal Mark Glass from Kentucky. It's a whole lot colder here and a whole lot more snow.
Hold yourself.
Corporal Glass!
No, not yet. Ski poles in.
Oh. It was really cold. Took me a shock. Yeah. It's hard to talk and hard to breathe while you're inside the water.
Okay, out you come. Good. Drive and kick.
So initially when they go in, skin receptors on the body aware of the sudden change in temperature, and that would kick in this involuntary response, so you get the and that generally lasts for about 3 seconds. The body then starts hyperventilating, so that's breathing quickly, and that can last for up to about 3 minutes.
Calm down.
I was really nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I was afraid I was gonna get in there and not be able to get out, but it was great. I loved it.
Make toast, down in one.
That's it, Marine Corps.
Then up here.
Kill.
Follow me.
Kill.
We've rode in on the BVs, and right now we are building our snow shelters where we will stay the night. We're piling up a bunch of snow and compacting it down, and after it settles, we will dig into it, and that will be our shelter for the night.
So pack it in the middle so as we stomp down.
It's actually a long, tedious, exhausting project that probably takes about 6 to 8 hours from what the instructor said.
Some would say it isn't as comfortable as a night in a tent. However, if you've got a candle going and there's no airflow, i.e. you've dug your sleeping bays higher than the entrance trench, then all the cold air drops and it will be a comfortable 0 degrees in that shelter.
It's
been a long day. We've been piling up all this snow and making sure that it compacts right, and now we're just tunneling in.
And we started digging around like 9:45, and we didn't stop digging until at least 1700. So that's practically like 8 hours of just piling the snow in.
Yeah, it's not awesome. It's not good, but stuff happens.
Yeah, we called for help and the whole company came
we got
in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So.
Essentially, they've got to put in bits of brushwood all over the shelter. That then maintains the stability of the roof. They failed to do that, so therefore once they've been digging in, they've dug beyond the limits and the roof of the shelter is collapsing on top of them. Unfortunately, now we've had to move them onto the snow bank over yonder, and they'll dig another shelter.
Yeah, this is probably the most different thing that I've done in the Marine Corps.
I say we would be ready for anything that comes our way, to be honest. Just like that's how we as Marines are.
Yeah.
Just
We would
ready.
respond and serve without a question.
I think everyone that comes out here, they will find it tough. The reason the Royal Marines come here is we know if we can operate here, we can operate anywhere around the world or anywhere around the globe. So this is a testing ground. You couldn't get any tougher and more demanding. So these guys have stepped straight off a plane from the US, they come to Europe, and then a week later they are up in 300 miles inside the Arctic Circle fighting against these conditions.
Fighting in that weather is really, really difficult. Just surviving is really difficult. To survive is it's more than half of that, it's 90% of it, 95% of it. If you survive and can also fire something and your equipment works, you're there.
The training that our armed forces can provide is something other armies around the world really, really want, and we have some of the most specialist and most admired training of any army around the world.
It's also a fairly brutal environment, so as you'd expect, spectrum of cold weather injuries. You have your hypothermia, where the whole body is cold and becomes cold and then generally begins to shut down. Sort of frost snip is a little bit of a warning sign where, yes, people will have cold hands, cold feet, noses or ears. Also a progression from that is if the tissues actually start freezing, then that is frostbite, and that is a significant problem and risk out here. Different degrees of frostbite from superficial to deep, depending on the layers of the tissue that are actually frozen.
Last night was really cold. It's supposed to be a shelter to keep us safe and warm, but it was still rather cold. I mean, we worked for long hours yesterday up until about midnight last night. Our clothes are still kind of wet and cold, and some parts are frozen. I'm cold. I was hungry, and we're fixing breakfast right now, so it's been a really rough time this last 2 days. It takes its toll. You just gotta suck it up and go on.
Danger in then, guys. Get your happy jackets on if you're not already on. You have your flasks out. How was the night in the Quincy on the Hall? Good. Did it work? Did it serve a purpose as a survival shelter? Okay, good. You're alive today. It's good.
The movement we're going to introduce initially will start off with movement by snowshoes, and then a little bit later on we're going to slowly but surely develop utilising movement by skis, which will prove quite an arduous test.
It's a little awkward at times, so I'm not used to these positions and wearing the skis. I'd need to get some better gloves because I can't really shoot with these mitts on.
Gloves, the skis makes it more difficult. It's more to work around to get the weapon and stuff like that. But a little practice, we'll get good at it.
It's a lot different than what I'm used to, being on, much more solid ground, handling a weapon and having to break through the undisturbed snow. Just makes it a lot more of a workout and a lot more tiring. So, but it's getting there. Techniques are getting slowly perfected.
It's an arduous environment where not only are we combating the actual skill sets involved with maintaining our body temperature in the cold, but also with the more pertinent point of closing with and defeating the enemy.
I'm so if we go to war with Russia. I can't figure out how to move this.
You know, in the last 10 or so years, we've been focused elsewhere in the world. And our cold weather expertise hasn't been what it should be.
You suck, Jesse. I know, I can't ski.
Us coming here and learning from the best cold weather trainers in the world is a fantastic opportunity.
All that skewering is then, it's utilising a long length of rope, a small hitch over the ski poles. It just means that we can almost double the amount of personnel we can move around an area in order to close with the enemy. The biggest energy expulsion during this activity is going to be the constant falling over and then trying to stand up with kit on your back.
Staying alive.
I blame the driver on that one.
The last bit of the exercise we're conducting is basically the withdrawal or the extraction. Now ultimately this is probably the most testing part of the week due to the fact of the degradation the guys have received from spending the 2 nights previous under canvas and then again the survival shelter on the final day.
Well, we've made it a long way. We've done a lot of hard work, and the Royal Marines have given us a lot of help as far as being able to survive out in this climate. It's a really harsh climate, but I think with a little more practice we can do it.
It's taken a while to grasp the urgency, and it's like sort of standing waiting for an order and understanding that you need to move away from that and start acting for yourself. I mean, this is the best office in the world as far as I'm concerned, and I think the Americans are slowly starting to appreciate that as well. Culturally,
Yeah, there are differences, but we're Marines. UK Marines, US Marines, we're Marines. And there's a brotherhood that transcends political boundaries and governments.
If you come across people who are highly trained and able to live in that environment, it is extremely difficult to fight them. And so the Russians will take this quite seriously.
They watch very carefully what we're doing, we're watching what they're doing, and we need to do that.
Exhausted. Skiing is the most demanding thing I've ever done. I'm glad to be back on base and a nice warm bed to sleep in tonight.